Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name's Alex, and I'm the Project Officer at Carers New South Wales working on the Care to Work project. So before I start today's webinar, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I'm situated, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to extend my respects to the traditional custodians of the lands across the many different locations where we meet in this virtual space this morning, this afternoon. I'd also like to acknowledge that today's webinar is part of National Carers Week celebrations. So for 2021, with the theme Millions of Reasons to Care. And it's only day 2, so there's plenty ahead of you if you'd like to participate. So my plan for today's webinar is first to provide an overview of the toolkit, how it evolved and what it aims to do. So the toolkit is From Caring to Employment, a toolkit for carers. I'm then going to walk you through in section by section and go through how some of the worksheets in particular to make sure you're able to get the most out of it.
Thanks, Alex. Okay. Well, Alex is just about to share the toolkit with everyone. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Rachel Matheson, and I'm also with Carers New South Wales. I'm with the Carers and Employers project, so work alongside Alex here at Carers New South Wales. Alex, this is just about to bring up on screen the toolkit that has been developed from caring to employment. And what she'll be doing is taking everyone sort of through the toolkit, a little bit of background, as she said, as to how that evolved. And how you could best interact and get the most out of this valuable resource. And on that note, I can see Alex has got that up on the screen now, and we'll move straight into.
Thanks, Rachel. Fantastic. So hopefully you can all see the toolkit as Rachel explained. So I'm just going to move right into the first page. So the contents here, the second page is. So you can see that the toolkit's divided into three main sections. So following the introduction, you have that sort of initial stage, exploring your options. So this is where you're getting to know your skills and how they match the job market, and then what options you've got moving forward and looking for work. The following section is choosing your pathway. So this is acknowledging that, you know, depending on where you are, your life stage, your caring stage, there's going to be different pathways that are available to you and that you're interested in and that you can utilize to find new work. So there's some of the main pathways here we go through. The next section is securing a job. So down to that nitty-gritty practical stage of, you know, what you need to get together to apply for work and to succeed at interview stage. And then you'll see that the appendix section. So this is some resources that are within the toolkit in each section. I'm going to go through some of those, but you can have a look at, as you can see, there's a function to go into each section, each section, and then a home button return to the contents page. So I'll be using that function a lot in the presentation, and hopefully, yeah, it's something that's easy for you to use. So, actually, sorry, just wanted to go through the introduction firstly. So the introduction here, I'm just going to take you through down to the middle of the page here. There's a carer work readiness self-assessment tool. So I'll just bring that up to full view for some reason. Here we are. And this is a really good place to start. So if you have a look at the 10 questions in the self-assessment tool, you'll get an idea about what stage you're at, and then you'll be able to use the toolkit according to your needs. So so the first question is why do you want to work right now? So this is obviously understanding where you're at and, you know, what are the reasons. So I think particularly for carers, it's really good if your caring role is active and busy to have a good understanding of why you're here in order to succeed in your goal. So the next question is, what is your work goal? So looking at you know, maybe you've got some options. I think being open at this stage, depending if you're in an initial stage, you might like to be open, and, you know, it might be just a few options you're looking at. at the beginning. So your most valuable skills. So employers and recruiters talk a lot about skills, and it's really good to have an idea what they're talking about, and how to include this in your job application. So how to identify and communicate your skills to employers, really important phase. I'll be going through some of the worksheets that can help you if you're having difficulty with this. The next two questions look at your caring role, sort of where, what your situation is. Caring, you might be, if you're currently caring, there might be certain times in the day that you need to be home for the person you care for. Might be that you're looking for flexible work arrangements. So I'd just like to note at this point that there are a suite of resources that are also available under the Carers and Employers program. And I was just going to ask, this is the program that Rachel runs, and if she could put the link into the chat bar if possible. For anyone who's looking at having those kinds of conversations with employers about how to ask for flexible work arrangements, for example, knowing your rights around being at work, and having talking about your caring role at work, those sorts of things. So just in the self-assessment, so the questions 6 and 7, so these are common coaching questions, actually. So asking you to rate yourself around your importance and how confident you are that you will achieve your goal. So if you rate below a 7 for either of these, it might be helpful to reflect on the reasons why. It might point to things you need to address, or it might suggest that you need to adjust your goal at this time, depending on how far along the process you are. And then the questions 8 to 10 really look at that, how analysing the job market and seeing how your skills and interests match up with realistic job options. So I will just use the so hopefully we'll look at this in the toolkit, but it's a really good start to have a look at that self-assessment. So I'm using the home button here and moving back to the contents page, and exploring your options. So it's all, I think it's all at the bigger font now, isn't it, Rachel? So here we have, this is so page 4 of the workbook, and the first section really, so exploring your options. Understanding those forces in play really is good to know what, what's involved in being able to get to the work that, the roles that you're interested in. So 3 main spheres of influence here, if you like. So family and community, this is where your caring role comes into play. Obviously it's very unique and personal to each of you. Your own sphere is your interest, aptitude. There's a lot you can do in this sphere and work towards. So we'll look at that in the toolkit. And the job market. So obviously what work is available where you live, your access to education, and those wider labour market trends as well, they're in play. So 2.1, knowing your skills. So so it's actually, caring is a great training ground to develop skills that are really well sought after by employers. So I'd like to just if this is something you are wanting to, particularly if you're looking to go into health or social care sector, including your caring skills in a job application can be, a really good idea. There's some other links here to some fantastic resources like this workbook here, which really just takes you through step by step. There's into how to identify work that aligns with your personal preferences, for example. So I really recommend you have a look at that. But I just wanted to take you through the resources here. So 5.2, knowing your skills. So here is a short list, if you like, of some skills that, are likely to be something that, things that you may identify as, that you've developed in your caring role. So see if any of these resonate with you. There's a tip here to think of how your friends and family would describe you if these sorts of skills are out of your awareness. That's a good idea. So they're often referred to as soft skills, and as I said, highly sought after by employers. So please spend some time in bringing these into your, building your profile to apply for new work. I'm just going to scroll down, if that's okay, to the next resource, which looks at those general transferable skills across industries. So once again, caring is a really good start to develop these. So they're often called employability skills. Here are communication, teamwork, problem solving, initiative planning, self-management, learning and understanding. And this gives it an example of how taking the first workplace skill, communication, of how you could talk about your caring experience in a way that demonstrates that you have good communication skills. So here's, there's obviously different kinds of communication skills, and then there's an opportunity to look at the other workplace skills and to think of some examples from your caring role. So you want to think of some really constructive examples as well, and make sure they're positive and meaningful. So I'm going to use this home button and take you back to the second part of this first section. But firstly, maybe if I can touch base with you, Rachel, is there any questions that need addressing before I move on?
I think you've been covering everything really well from the comments that have been coming in, and I don't think we've got any current questions in the chat box there. I just wanted to say, in looking at this, and I have looked at this before, just what a great resource it is, because I know when I try and describe myself and I'm trying to come up with words out of the top of my head, it's so much easier when there's something in front of me that kind of helps me to think about some words that I might use, and words that resonate and relate with me, and it certainly helps to facilitate those sorts of activities you're undertaking in job search.
Yeah, I agree, Rachel. It's really, really just good to have some examples in front of you sometimes, to just think up these things from scratch. Is you've got it there, but it's hard to come up with. So having some examples is great. So this, yeah.
So it just helps get the creativity flowing sometimes, but I'll let you get back to it now, Alex.
Thank you, Rachel. So the second section is knowing the job market. So that's that other sphere of influence going on. It's really important to have a look at the job market. So firstly, have conversations possible with people who are in roles that you're interested in. Next to that there is so much information on the internet, in job market resources. There's government websites that cover things like jobs in demand now and in the future, average salaries, so you can really analyze career paths that are interesting to you, and as well as these job search websites. So these are advertising roles right now, so this is getting a real hold of like what jobs you're going to be able to apply for, and really important that you do this kind of research. Even if you're not at that job application stage, I would just recommend that you have a look at these, you get to know these websites, and then also company websites of interest. So the Carers and Employers Network also lists carer-friendly accredited employers. You might want to look at that if that is important to you moving into new work. So I will move on to the next section, as long as there's no questions, Rach. I can't hear you.
Just as I started speaking, I realised I had the mute. I've just got one question now, and I probably can't type as fast as I'd like to in responding to that question. It was just from someone who said they'd been out of the workforce for some time, and where I was getting to in responding to that question, and you might have something to say on this, Alex, is that the toolkit's a great way to start, just to start to get an understanding of a roadmap that you might like to work from, and very much respectfully that having that sort of length of career break, it can be quite daunting in thinking about returning to work, but that's why I would encourage you to have a look at the toolkit, and perhaps talk to others, and build up conversations, and perhaps get feedback from others, or start to reach out to gain, I guess, a little bit more information and understanding about how you might like to approach. But Alex, you've had the
Absolutely, Rach. Yeah,
experience.
I think yeah, and I think that really, if anything, I'd say the workbook is more, sorry, the toolkit is more applicable to someone who has been out of the workforce for some time. So the resources that we've developed and the pathways we look at, aside from the first pathway here, are really more for people who are really just starting out. And so the focus is looking at how you can utilize all of the things you've learned through your caring role, all of the experience. So unpaid experience can be included in job applications, and that's really what we do try to provide information and links to. So as I said, this first pathway is perhaps for those carers who have had a long work history prior to becoming a carer, and so that's looking at ways to either transfer skills. These hyperlinks here to are really great tools to look at, so other roles that other work that you've done, and how to maybe new roles that might be applicable to you now. Some platforms here around part-time work, if it is that you're caring and you need that. You might be eligible for returnships in your industry, in your previous industry, or career transition assistance. And that is obviously career transition assistance is I'm pretty sure that's available to people who are straight out, have been unemployed for some time as well. You need to be unemployed to access that. But the next pathway, so education and training, there's really many different pathways to tertiary education, and getting along the way. So there's TAFE, registered training organisations. There's so many. So really, I think what's important in this phase, and I've got a lot of links to, is identifying the right course for you. And there's there's websites that compare courses from people who've done the courses. There's also links here to subsidised courses and other ways of, if depending on your situation, financial and skills training incentives that are available. This is carer-specific financial assistance that you might be able to get through the Carer Gateway. And here, the third pathway is the lived experience. So once again, this is how to draw in your lived experience caring into that can open up new work opportunities. So it's been just a fantastic focus of the program, and getting carers to recognise they've got skills and that can that they can apply to work. And there has been some great success stories actually. So here are these two resources I've gone through already. I will be going through just, there's some basic resume cover letter. There's also opportunities to recognise prior learning through TAFE. So I would recommend that you have a look at that. So it depending on the sort of evidence you can provide, of course. The next pathway is volunteering. So it's really well recognised as a pathway to employment. Volunteering, it not only does it provide demonstrate passion and commitment to a career if you've done volunteering in an area, but it's also like experience in the field. So, and it gives you an opportunity to really see if it's a good fit for you. So if you haven't already, there's great volunteering opportunities out there, and I would recommend, it's a great step in the right direction. And then the last pathway we have is self-employment. So it might be that your situation at this time, advertised roles aren't applicable, or maybe you have specialized skills. Many carers are interested in self-employment, and there is really great government resources out there to step you through each step of the way. There's actually additional there's coaching resources out there with Jobs New South Wales that I don't have here actually, but yeah, just recommend to get on board and do some networking, learn as much as you can. So just the final section, am I going okay, tracking okay, everyone's questions okay? Okay, so really securing a job is that last phase. The resume is something that I've done a lot with carers. Everyone's wanting to develop a resume. It's really not necessary that you develop a resume until you're ready to, you have identified roles in the market you're ready to apply to work. But you are likely to need, I don't know anyone who hasn't had to provide a resume when they've secured a role, even through a direct referral. You'll need to provide written evidence of your skills, education, prior work achievements. So if it is that it's been some time since you've worked and you really don't know where to start, there's, firstly developing that knowledge of your skills. And I'll just take you through the resume template that we've got here as part of the resource, which does look at how you could use your caring experience to develop a resume. So it just follows a really simple format, this one, and I would recommend that you keep it simple and obviously clear and straight to the point. So here an example of how to have an opening paragraph about who you are and how your lived experience has set you up for having the skills to apply for this role you're applying for. Here is where you can include those key skills that employers are looking for. So things like adaptability, organisation, and obviously needing to match that to the role you're applying for. Here's an example of how to put education together. So, recent and relevant with education. And work experience, as I said, you can include unpaid work experience that is relevant to the job. And here's an example of how you could put together a caring role as to demonstrate work experience. So providing care and support for a family member with physical, intellectual disability, how long you've been doing it. You might have been advocating on behalf of the person you care for. You might have been monitoring a plan budget, raising awareness of disability rights. There's a whole range of things that carers do. And really, I think things to keep in mind are using formal language and avoiding sort of disclosing personal information about you or the person that you care for. So, but otherwise, just, there's so many things like managing crisis situations. I'm sure many things can come to mind. Also, you can include caring roles that in your community work. So you might have been part of carer support group. Here's an example, and here's an example of how to include a referee from a caring role, a relationship that you've developed through your caring role. So perhaps you've co-facilitated a support group, for example. Really important to think of referees if you have been out of the workforce for some time. I'll just briefly take you back, and we've done referees. So just the final section in the resource is the interview. So you've done all the work, but please don't forget to prepare for an interview. Employers usually use a framework to their interviewing called behavioural style questioning. And here is a template that looks at how to build up examples. And this is an example from a caring role. So I'll just take you to that. It's the last resource in the toolkit, and it explains how to outline the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And once again, it's really important that the result needs to be something that's positive, a positive outcome. So something that you've struggled through, is important to demonstrate, all those valuable skills, and then hopefully you've come through with a positive outcome for according to the situation. So here is an example of a question and how to answer that using an experience from your caring role. So I think I'm probably close to time. I better check in with Rachel.
Fantastic, Alex. That's been wonderful. Look at all that. There's the rich. It's a really rich resource full of examples and links and really practical help there in that toolkit. We've probably got time for one question. It is 2:28. Alex and I can stay on if we do get any further questions, but we will be coming up to the half hour just shortly. The question says, in regards to resume, do we adjust our resume to fit each time the specific job requirements so that it does not exceed 2 to 3 pages? So probably a little bit about length and tailoring of the resume when applying for roles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to tailor a resume to each role, particularly you know, at least the opening paragraphs. You know, you won't have to change around your education too much, but you want to make sure your skills are really the skills that are mentioned in the job ad. And if they say a page limit, then absolutely follow the instructions of the job ad. You know, that's a first step, I think.
Very much agree. Now, we've had some very favourable comments about the resource being so helpful. And the great thing about it is, while our time will be up shortly here, it is available, as we said, to download, and it can be done at, you know, it's a self-paced workbook. It can be done at your own pace. I know, Alex, when you've been working with people, you found that's important to kind of be able to work with people at their own pace, and so and having that tool, we hope that people will be able to refer to it when they need to, and
absolutely tap into it as you need. And I'm also available for individual support still, so please be in contact if you've got further questions. If you're not already in contact with the Care to Work project, just ask for Alex at Care to Work.
Fantastic. And you've got your programs also mentioned on the Carers New South Wales website, and along with a Carers and Employers program. So that brings us up to 2:30, and I think we've pretty much covered all the questions. But if not, Alex has let you know that we'll be available to hear from you. You can contact Alex directly.
Absolutely. It's been such a great program, and yeah, look, I think it's so great to work with carers, and you've got a lot to offer the workplace. So I'd encourage you all to get into it, and yeah, if I don't hear from you, all the best.
Fantastic. All right, on that note, we might wrap things up. Thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you.